Welcome back, everybody, to the Performance Parakone podcast. We are on episode 9.
Crazy.
I don't even remember exactly when we started this, but it's super exciting to feel like we're almost at double digits.
It's been a long journey. Fun journey.
It's been fun.
But
long, but fun.
We've come a long way from our video.
From our youth.
From our youth.
No, I'm just kidding, but really, we're super happy to have you guys back here. I think today we have a special guest. Really, Diego has been helping with the BSF program and mission for a little while now. We'll let him get more into that, but really touching on our whole student-parent partner. These last few episodes of this season, we're really going to dive into these core foundations that BSF has really been built on, especially as we've grown in this last year. So, Diego, why don't we just kick it off and you tell us a little bit about yourself? Give us some background. You know, who are you? What have you been doing? School, education?
Well, hello, Marcos. Hello, Suleyma. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for having me in the Parakone podcast?
Performance Parakone.
Performance Parakone.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me here. My name is Diego Gutierrez, and I was born and raised in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. I came here with my parents at about the age of 8. I was in halfway to 3rd grade. I remember a couple of things from Mexico, but I don't remember much. I remember a memory here and there. But I think I've always just been this very curious person, eager to always learn, eager to always give back and use my talents and just the things that God gave me to pursue what I think is best for me, but also for the people around me. I think it was very hard. It was very hard to definitely cope with the fact that I had to leave an entire life back in Mexico.
Right.
But I think it was harder for my parents because they lived an entire life over there. But being here, the hardest thing was definitely learning English. Being able to write it, being able to even speak it, honestly, was pretty much a challenge all the way up until like my 5th grade year.
And what age did you start learning again?
I started learning in I think I was 8, yeah. Well, I was at a private school in Mexico, and I feel like that's what helped the most because in public schools in Mexico don't teach English.
Right.
So I had some fundamentals from English back in Mexico, but I don't know. It was just a huge culture shock coming here to the United States, seeing that everything's completely different from my traditions, from Mexico, from my culture, and yeah, I mean, all I remember was just struggling a lot, and especially being in that ESL program. I think the thing that I would strive for was passing that ELPA test. Like back in elementary school, I was at Castelar, and I feel like, yeah.
I was there too.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, it's an amazing school. I think it shaped me a lot. I was already doing leadership roles back in elementary school. Like, I remember I was in ambassadors, I was in safety patrol, and I feel like all of that like just started shaping me. I don't want to get much into middle school, but it did kind of just all the skills, all the fundamentals I built in elementary school kind of just transferred from one place to another.
Right.
Very early on.
Exactly. And I owe a lot of that to my parents, but also all the teachers who really did put the work and just honestly helped me a lot.
Do you have siblings?
I do have siblings. They all went, basically, they're all going to the same schools that I went to, Castelar, Mars, and South. One of them is 16 right now, and the other one is 13.
So you're the oldest then?
And I'm the oldest,
wow.
Yeah.
My parents don't know anything about how the whole college thing works here. They don't know how the system works. They don't know they don't know how to fill out a FAFSA. They don't know how to actually the process it takes to apply to a school and actually get that financial aid, you know? And I feel like that was definitely the hardest thing for me was finding that support and finding those scholarships that were able to give back to immigrant students, especially for me. I feel like it was honestly, it was pretty hard, not gonna lie, because I have no social security number, or I don't have this, or I don't have that, and I don't have half of the requirements that a lot of individuals here have. And it was very hard to honestly just get over that, because I saw a lot of people, or a lot of individuals, get big name scholarships.
Right.
And I wasn't getting anything, you know? And it got to like the last month of high school that I was like, gosh, I really don't have a single scholarship.
Right.
I had this like 4.8 GPA, you know, AP classes since like my freshman year, full schedule my senior year, like, you know, and I felt like all that entire sacrifice that my parents were putting and have put since, like, you know, leaving Mexico, leaving their entire life behind,
Right.
it wasn't paying off, you know? And it kind of hit to this point where just I wasn't okay with being that individual. I wasn't okay with not paying off what my parents did for me, you know? And so many individuals started helping me in South Omaha. So many individuals. I remember the OPS Foundation, they gave me a couple of scholarships. And even like my principal back then, she found a way to give me a full ride for flight training, which is actually very hard to get, because I mean, no one gives you $80,000, you know?
No.
And that's honestly, that has stuck pretty much this entire semester and a half, because I'm also in UNO and Metro. But it's something that has stuck with me through this entire time, that however hard it is, I can't give up, you know?
100%.
I can't give up, because there's so many people in South Omaha that believed in me. There's so many people that put their money on me. And there's so many people that believed that my talents were going to get me somewhere. And that's honestly something that I'll forever hold very deeply in my heart. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I want to keep giving back, you know? It's something that will forever be engraved in my heart. And it's another reason why I kind of was introduced to BSF.
I feel like I can relate a lot to your journey, because I also didn't have a social security number or anything. My parents are immigrants. I was an immigrant, basically. So I feel that struggle that you went through. It's very hard to know that, you know, there's so many opportunities that are out there, but you don't qualify for them.
Exactly.
And so it's just amazing to know that, you know, there are other people out there, because I feel like at times when I was in my senior year, I felt very alone, that I was like, oh, I'm the only one that, you know, can't do this, but it's really good to know that there's other people. And I think that you bring a good point in, you know, how important and how significant other people's help is, especially getting those scholarships, because if it weren't for them, like, we wouldn't be here, you know?
Exactly.
So, and I'm very lucky to say that I graduated debt free, and I'm, you know, hopefully you will also be able to say that one day in 4 years?
Yeah. It's a long time from now, but
left.
it passes fast. If high school passed, then I'm guessing college.
So right now you said that you're doing UNO, you're at UNO, Metro, and doing aviation school, correct?
Correct.
Yeah?
I have an interpreting certification from Metro, which I started back in my sophomore year of high school.
Oh, wow.
And I finished it the summer of my senior year.
Oh, okay.
And I am studying at UNO for aviation, a bachelor's of science in aviation, with a concentration of pro flight. So that means eventually going to the airlines, or planning to go to the airlines.
Yeah.
I currently fly at Millard Airport, which is honestly,
I see some of your
so
Instagram
cool.
stories sometimes. They look fun.
It's so cool. It was hard at first to adjust, and that's one of the biggest things, because a lot of people, I feel like a lot of individuals who are currently doing flight training already have that generational knowledge. And I have that generational knowledge, but I didn't have that generational wealth.
Yeah.
And that was the hardest thing to cope with, just not having that money to complete my dreams. But, you know, it feels like sometimes I have to like come up with my flight training stuff on my own. You know, there's no one there to tell me. There's no one there to tell me what the physics of flight are, you know?
Right.
There's no one there to tell me, you have to do this, you have to do that. It's this procedure for this maneuver, you know? So definitely that generational knowledge, I feel like it took a huge part in my training right now. But I'm getting close to that solo.
Yeah.
I'm a couple of hours away, so that's the...
Sweet. Then you can take us.
Yeah.
As soon as I get my private pilot, I'll let you know.
Bring you back, and we'll do a podcast in the air.
In the air.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
Mid-air.
Just like head out the window or something.
So you got the interpretation certificate?
Correct.
What do you use that for?
Honestly, I use it whenever I can. But because of my legal status, there's no legal way I can get paid. But I do volunteer my time with OPS. So
like for parent-teacher conferences?
Exactly.
Okay.
I volunteer my time with OPS and the teacher-parent conferences. I do a lot of events for OPS as well. I especially for the South High choir program.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of events for them, especially with like emceeing and stuff when they need help with translating and stuff.
Nice.
That has came through a lot.
That's awesome.
I'm curious, something that, you know, you guys talked, I know that you guys relate on not having your social at the beginning and all this identification that can kind of limit your opportunities, right? Or I guess, especially financially. And you brought up this point that even now you have this, right? You have this degree, but because of your status, right, you're not able to make as much, you're not able to make anything from it, right? I mean,
right.
it's, and I will say it's cool to volunteer your time, but I mean, sometimes we need to get paid, right? I mean, so you talked about getting through high school, right? And how that was like a, you know, big hurdle that you jumped at first. But how is it now? Like this kind of being a little bit restricted, I don't want to say out of place, but being put in this category where you're not able to access everything else that everyone else gets to access. Has that changed for you? How do you feel about that now? Especially like hearing that about it, you can't get paid for a degree that you busted your butt off for.
I feel that very heavily. I mean, all throughout high school, you know, I see people just like just work, get their money up, you know, buy their own things. And it's not that it's not envy or anything. It's just like, dang, I can't do that, you know? Yeah. But I think it's definitely just trusting the process.
Right.
It's a lot of trusting the process, especially with the career I'm pursuing, because it's a career that's very rewarding.
Yeah.
But you do have to make a lot of sacrifices for it. And, yeah, I mean, it's a very hard career, but it's definitely rewarding. And there's a lot of jobs that I know that could potentially give me that those privileges, you know, give me that visa, and just it's a lot of trusting the process. And
so is that what
faith.
you're working towards then? Just trying to find that, get that opportunity that allows you to actually access all these things?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, so I know you mentioned that you had like that generational knowledge. So did you always like grow up with pilots in your family?
I grew up with three pilots in my family, actually. They've always been there, but my family has been very kind of all over the place. It's hard to talk to my family sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, but they've been a huge help. They've been a huge help, especially right now. I sometimes call my uncle and I'm like, hey, so what is this? I honestly don't understand anything. I see people doing this, I see people doing that, and I don't understand anything. But I love that he's there for me. And like I said, honestly, if it wasn't for all the support, I don't know how I would get through college, and I don't know how I'd get through half of the things I'm experiencing, because it is a lot that I'm experiencing as a college student. It is a huge shift. especially going into the whole adult life. I feel like that's been the hardest thing. But if you don't find that support, you're going to struggle. So there's a lot of support out there, and there's a lot of people who are willing to help. You just got to accept it, that you need help. And
God, college is hard enough without like having to deal with all those extra steps and tribulations. I mean, to imagine doing it without the support after that, I don't know. It's a different ballgame, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Life is already hard as it is in college, and
then they're like, hey, here's all this more, all this other stuff that you got to deal with. So, I mean, seems like you're doing a lot. I want to touch a little bit on something that I think is pretty cool. You started an app when you were younger, correct? Right. Do you want to tell everyone a little bit about like what that was, like what the app is, you know, how you came about to doing that?
Yeah. So I started programming back in my freshman year of high school, and I honestly, I remember this like exactly like how it was. The first app that I tried to develop, it was to find homeless shelters and to find places where people who were less fortunate could go to and could find resources.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I never finished the app. And I remember, dang, like the Congressional App Challenge, and my teacher would remind me all the time, like, this challenge is here, and I know you can accomplish it. I know you can finish the app. I know you can submit it. I know you can make a video explaining it. But I feel like I was just a little mature. And then as I grew up, as I just started to realize what life was about, I decided to make a mental health app, which is something that's very deep in my heart because I'm a very huge mental health advocate. I struggle myself with anxiety. I struggle myself sometimes with even depression. So honestly, I feel like it was the best thing I could have done my senior year. It not only got me exposure, but it also made me realize that you really do have to work for everything you want. But basically what the app does and what it was for and what it is for is to help high school students or any student at this point. But it was at that point to help high school students who were struggling with mental health. I saw a lot of people and I saw a lot of individuals around my school that were struggling, and I honestly decided to take action on it. And that was the challenge for the Congressional App Challenge: is find a conflict in your society and find a conflict in your community that you could fix or that you could potentially help. And so the app would help you log your feelings, especially when you're wanting to go to like therapy or maybe a doctor's appointment. You could tell them exactly how you felt an exact day. It was more like a rehab app as well, because you could do exercises to get kind of just rid of what you were feeling. And also I did have a lot of hotlines plugged into the app, and I did have an emergency button. So the emergency button, when you clicked it, it would like right away call 911. And I feel like what got the most exposure and what got me the most attention for the app was definitely the design on it. I like to design a lot. I like to implement my creative process into the things I do. But
So is the app live? Like, people can download it?
It isn't live, but I do have a link to whoever wants to access it. So
Oh, sweet.
That's awesome.
Well, we'll get that link from you and make sure we can throw it in the caption so people can access that.
Alrighty.
I think that'd be pretty sweet.
So you mentioned that you want, obviously you have been helping a lot with BSF. Can you talk a little bit about like how that all started with you? And I know you're super involved, and you've been such a great help since I'm not there anymore.
Better. No, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, can you just talk to us about that journey?
Yeah. Honestly, being at BSF has helped me so much. Ever since I met Tony, and oh my goodness, sorry, Francisco. Tony and Francisco, I feel like they
You hear
just
that, Francisco?
they welcomed me into the BSF environment, and honestly, that was just like the best thing that could have happened to me right there and then. I was struggling with the entire shift from high school to college, and I do. I'm sorry, but I met Tony and Francisco, and they introduced me to BSF. They introduced me to what BSF is and what you guys do for students and for individuals who are struggling to find financial aid, you know? So they just simply asked me, they were like, so what do you want to do? And I want to be a pilot, you know? I want to eventually make my own foundation, be able to give back to like individuals who aren't able to get the resources just because of whatever label they have, you know?
Yeah,
label
absolutely.
they have. So, I told them that, and they were just super supportive. They've always been there to support my dreams, and I feel like that's what kind of grappled me or hooked me into BSF. That's what kind of got me into just being around BSF, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of just, it's been a blessing. I've helped with media. I've helped with media. I've helped with some of the podcasts stuff.
Yeah. And now you're on it.
And now I'm on it, which is crazy, you know? But,
yeah, you've been helping with a lot of different aspects. I'll kind of fill them into a little bit. I mean, you started helping, you know, just at different events, and then we got you on media, right? Running different media to the point where you were at some CASA events too, helping with some CASA stuff. I mean, you did the editing for those videos, and I mean, now you're even going to help a little bit with that translating skill, right? Where we're talking about bringing you on the marketing side, and you just, you know, you mentioned you like to really put yourself in creatively in these places. So, I mean, I know BSF is super thankful to have you since Suleyma left us, but
no shade there.
There's shade. No, I'm just kidding. But like, I think that this podcast is a great opportunity to showcase not only everything that, I mean, we've been doing at BSF for a year, but being able to showcase people like yourself, right, that are finding ways to give back when, I'll be honest, when maybe the community should still be giving more to you. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, all these different opportunities that are given to other people, it's not, in my opinion, it's not fair that there's not more opportunities for people that are working as hard as you, right? I mean, you're doing 3 different things: Metro, UNO, and, you know, flight school. I mean, this is all a lot of things for even, I think, anybody that had a full support system, right, from, you know, the government, FAFSA, et cetera. So why, you know, they asked you to do it, but like, why do you continue to keep giving back? I mean, I know that you must be strapped for time, right? And it must be something that, like, I mean, based on what you say as well, you're over here going to the student parent conferences. I mean, you're doing so much. Where do you find the time, you know, to do all this?
I'm going to refer back to something you said in a different episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think you find time when you just find time for it, you know? Mm-hmm. It kind of just comes out of your heart, and it's not something you think about, and it's not something you schedule. It's something that just comes out, you know?
Yeah.
So
definitely.
I think
awesome.
that's definitely my answer for that.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Because I think for a lot of people that, you know, have such busy schedules, it's just another excuse not to help. Right. Even though they want to, they just kind of like put it in the back of their heads, like, well, I'll get to that later when I have time. Yeah. Well, you know, that at that point, it's never gonna. You have to make time for it. So.
Yeah, it has to become a priority in some way. Let me think of where else we can touch on. I mean, Diego, you've been with BSF for, like, how long have you been helping us now?
I've been helping since summer.
Since summer. Wow, yeah. So longer than about 7 months, 6 months, 7 months. Tell us a little bit on what your perspective on, like, how you've seen BSF grow. Like, I mean, what have you noticed? Because a lot has changed even since you started.
I've seen a lot of exposure, not gonna lie. I mean, I feel like a lot more people know about BSF. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I don't think I heard a single person talk about BSF my senior year. And that's
just crazy.
That's what hurt the most, not gonna lie. When I started working with you guys and just helping out and just volunteering, you know, I'm telling other seniors right now, like current seniors, sign up for BSF, you know, like it's money that could potentially get you somewhere.
Yeah.
And they're willing to help.
Yeah.
But I think just the biggest thing I've seen has definitely just been like engagement.
Yeah.
Engagement, a lot more engagement. And I see and I hear events all the time, and definitely the community. As when I started, just kind of just hanging out with you guys, hanging out with the Barrientos Scholarship Foundation.
The cool kids.
Yeah, with the cool kids. I kind of just, I feel like I didn't see enough people in the community, or I didn't see enough people showing up. And then I think it just kind of just started popping off, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it takes people like you putting a little
Yeah.
extra time,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, because when I was in high school, I knew about Barrientos. I had applied. I didn't get it, but yeah, I remember hearing about it, and it was just like this mythological like organization that I didn't know much about. Like the website was not where it is now.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely grown with even, you know, to now.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just been like people are more engaged.
I mean, like, it's way more accessible now, I think, to different, I mean, of course, we're still working on even implementing more Spanish marketing, right? But I think that back in the day, I mean, I know your sister, I mean, how did you find out about it? Was it through your sister?
Yeah. Well, no, because my counselor, he like usually they give us a list of like all of the scholarships, and I was like, oh, well, there's this one.
Okay.
And then my sister, I don't even know how she found out about it.
She didn't even tell you?
No, she didn't. We should have her in the next
We're gonna have
podcast.
to bring her on the podcast and let her, like, you didn't tell these people. But actually, I think that it's really beautiful to see how it grows, and I think that's a reason, again, we're highlighting you on this episode, because I mean, we need people like Suleyma, like you, people that come in just eager. I mean, Suleyma was our intern, so we kind of but like she was,
So you're saying you had no other option?
no, it was great. I mean, and I'll hype up Suleyma a little bit right now too. I mean, she continues to come back, right, after you know, after her internship. She makes so many events. I mean, sometimes I don't even think I make the event, and she's there, which is she's representing, and I think that's definitely what we're getting onto, especially because, I mean, you know, the older generations, you know, business leaders, they definitely have a due diligence, at least, or some kind of duty to continue spreading the word about BSF, but I mean, they're not connected like we are to the younger, you know, the youth, the colleges, you know, the high school seniors that you're talking to. I mean, it does kind of fall in our laps on whether we want to make this process move faster, right? I mean, I don't think any one of us wants to wait another like 2 generations for people that look like us, that talk like us, that have families, that have just moved, to still be dealing with the same issues, you know?
Yeah.
Then we can always push a little harder, I think. But I think that in this group in particular, I mean, kudos. I mean, I think we've done a lot of great stuff here in the last 6 months and a year, in building stuff. I mean, Suleyma,
I don't know. I just created the social media account.
She did. I mean, and she helped with the website. The website did come a long way. The website wasn't bad back in the day, but it definitely did not paint the full picture of what was going on. So,
by the way, when is because I've talked to my friends that work in high schools about the scholarship, and they've asked me like, oh, when does it open, so I can tell my students.
Yeah, this is a good time to even say this right now on the podcast. So the scholarship will be opening on March 1st. So March 1st. We're about to start pushing some posts out here in the next couple of weeks that just let people know. So, you know, tell your friends and everybody to stay on the lookout. You guys too, stay on the lookout on our social media.
Keep your eye open.
You know?
And it's open for a month, correct?
It'll be open for 1 month, and you guys can start applying on March 1st all the way until 11:59, the last day of March, which I believe is...
You mean 11:59 p.m.?
11:59 p.m. Yeah, sorry. On March 30th.
I was like, what day is that?
Yeah.
11:59.
Yeah, until November 59th. But we still want to ask you a couple more questions just before we wrap up here.
Yeah,
so.
I wanted to piggyback on what you said. Honestly, I feel like BSF does have that more one-to-one connection with these students. You know, I mean, I have multiple scholarships. I've been part of multiple scholarships and foundations. But I've never really felt that connection that I feel with BSF, you know. Awesome. You don't really see like, you know, you Marcos actually trying to build a connection with me. Yeah. And I feel like that's something that definitely helps, and it allows the student to like take the foundation more seriously, and take their scholarship more seriously, you know.
And I think that's an advantage that BSF has, is that it's the community of scholars is small right now, but it's strong, and it's in comparison to other foundations, like what you said. Like, I've also been a part of other foundations, but it's too big and there's too many students to take care of, and it's very hard to have that one-on-one connection. So I think that in that sense, we are at an advantage.
So Diego, I guess as we're wrapping up here, what is something that you feel like you wish that you could tell to other people that are, say they just moved from Mexico, they're 8 years old, 9 years old, 10, whatever age they are, and they're struggling with what you're struggling with. I mean, they're in an ESL class, they don't really, maybe at that time you don't fully grasp that you don't have all these different numbers like social security numbers, but what would you tell them as they're having to learn a new language, learn all these different things?
Right. Okay. Do you want me to say this in Spanish or in English?
Let's do Spanish and then maybe English. Yeah.
Pues obviamente creo que lo más difícil es aprender el idioma, pero lo mejor de todo creo que es todo lo que estás aprendiendo, todas las experiencias que estás teniendo aquí. Va a estar difícil tenerlas en México, así que pues todo lo que estás teniendo aquí, tú tómalo como una ventaja, y esa ventaja tómala y no la dejes ir, porque es muy difícil encontrar a gente que cree en ti, y es muy difícil encontrar a gente que te va a regalar esto, te va a regalar el otro. Entonces, creo que lo mejor que les puedo decir es que sigan con este proceso, porque yo sé que es difícil, pero hay que tener fe y pues seguirle echando, porque no todo en la vida es fácil, y pues sí, creo que eso es todo.
Échenle ganas, muchachos.
Échenle ganas.
That's beautiful. My Spanish needs work, but that is beautiful. I really do appreciate you telling them that in Spanish too. I think that'll really resonate.
I do have one question though.
Okay. Yeah.
So, you know, I feel like you're such an inspiration to, you know, all of the younger generations. And I would like to know where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like, what's next for you? I know you just started your college journey, but after that, where do you hope to be?
I'm hoping to hopefully stay in Omaha. I'm trying to stay in Omaha. It's very hard to stay in a small city or a small town. I don't know what Omaha.
It's a small city.
Yeah. It's hard to stay in a small city, especially with aviation, because a lot of home bases for airlines like Delta, you know, all these like
they're in the big
Southwest,
cities.
They're in the big cities, you know, and all their training facilities are in big cities. But I do definitely, I can commute, and commuting is just basically just flying to whatever home base that you need to go to. But hopefully just stay in Omaha, you know, because I feel like Omaha really does need people to stay here to develop what Omaha is, you know. Omaha is beautiful, and I feel like it has so much more to give, but people need to stay in the city to allow Omaha to grow, you know.
Well, I did hear that the airport is going to be expanding.
Exactly.
So that might be possible.
So yeah, but I do see myself here in Omaha. And hopefully in an airline, if that's what God has for me. But that's where I see myself for now.
So here in Omaha in 5 years, flying.
Definitely still singing, definitely still playing the guitar.
Oh yeah.
Private jet? No, that's crazy.
That'd be sick.
I'm not there yet.
Where's the first place you want to fly to whenever you can?
I feel like everyone says Hawaii.
What do you say though?
I definitely want to fly to Europe. I feel like I've been to most, if not all, the places that I've wanted to be here in Central America and North America.
Hawaii too?
But no, I haven't been to Hawaii. Okay. But I feel like that's what every other pilot says.
Yeah.
But I feel like I definitely just want to fly to Europe and just explore over there. That'd be the dopest thing.
Awesome.
Yeah. Now I think we're wrapping up here at the end. I'll ask a question of Suleyma. If you have any more questions, you can feel free to let it rip.
I'm sorry.
My bad. We'll give her a second. Why was that so funny? Is it because like
it was just so random.
Yeah.
Oh my bad. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
It just felt appropriate. It felt like the right statement. Let it rip. So, we talked about what you would say to someone that's younger, but let's talk about someone that's like your age right now, right? Maybe they don't even have a direct reason to be related to an organization. The organization hasn't done anything for them, etc. Like, what would you tell to somebody that maybe is looking to get involved somewhere, but doesn't know where to start? They want to give back, but they just don't know how.
I feel that. Okay, so
let it rip for sure.
Yeah, I feel like I do have a similar experience because I mean in high school I come from a very close knit family, Mm-hmm. I come from programs and I come from organizations that really do know who I am and really do love me for who I am, and they want to see me thrive. But then I get into UNO and I'm just another number,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just another person. I'm not involved in anything but the aviation program.
Yeah.
I think it's just about finding your pack, finding where you fit in, and finding people who think alike, who have the same mentality as you. And I feel like the easiest way I could explain it would just definitely be just find your pack.
Yeah.
Find the people who represent you and who represent what you believe.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Or come here. Yeah.
Come here.
Do you have anything else?
No, I just, like I said, I feel like you were such an inspiration because I feel like you're so young. Well, I mean, I'm not that.
Yeah. How old are you,
either.
Diego?
I'm not that young.
How old are you again?
I'm just about to turn 19 in 10 days.
19.
Oh,
Wow.
10 days. Happy early
Thank you.
birthday.
That's crazy. Well, I just wanted to say I think you're doing such an amazing job for someone just, 19 years old. You're still a child. No, I think that you're a great example for other students, other college students to get involved. Like, there's so many excuses in the world that you can make to not, get your interpretation certificate, to not be here, to not, you could easily just go to class and go home and that's it. And it's just inspiring, even to me, like, to see you like still doing all of those things with the little time that you have. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Suleyma.
Very inspiring. And again, that's probably the reason we brought you on, is because I don't know many people, even at your age, or dealing with what you've dealt with, that are doing as much as you're doing. And we want to uplift that and definitely give you your chance to shine here and tell everybody, everyone is capable of putting that kind of effort in and making a difference, whether it's here in your city and across the world, wherever, and whatever impact you want to make. I think it's possible if you're willing to do that. So, Diego, thank you again for coming on for this episode number 9, right before number 10. I feel like it's a special one. So thank you guys for tuning in for the Performance Parakone podcast.
See you next time.
Yeah, see you next time.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.